Make one last point about education, though. I've said this before, but I always like to repeat it. Our schools have to improve. Our teachers, we've got to provide better professional development and training for our teachers. Particularly young teachers who are just starting off, we've got to match them with master teachers and, make sure they don't feel isolated, because usually teachers, if they leave, it's in their first 5 years. We've got to give them higher pay. We've got to give them career ladders that'll help them. But even if we improve our schools, we improve our teachers, teachers get better paid, we fix No Child Left Behind, we are not going to improve our schools unless we also have parents who are parenting. Parents who are parenting. Now, parents, you've got to turn off the television set. You've got to put away the video games. You've got to read to your kids. Give them a thirst for knowledge. You've got to talk to the teacher about what their homework is. You've got to pay attention. You've got to set curfews for your kids so they're not staying up until midnight. If your children are acting up at school, don't curse out the teacher. We've got to do a better job of parenting. Fathers, you've got to be involved with your child's life. Don't blame the schools if we are not. Don't blame the schools if we're not doing our job. We've got to do our job with our kids, and then the schools can be a partner in that process. But they can't do magic. All right? That's very important. All right. Yes, young lady back here. Hold on. I'll let you borrow my mic.
Welcome to Muncie. My name is Nora, and resulting in food prices because of high demand for corn. Do you think we need to stop or suspend ethanol subsidies as a result?
That's a great question. Look, I have been a strong supporter of ethanol. I come from a farm state, Illinois, just like, and we grow a lot of stuff. And ethanol has been very good for farmers. It's been good for the agricultural and rural economy. And it has set up an infrastructure to start providing and building an alternative fuel, an alternative energy industry, and distribution networks, and all those things are important. So I think overall, it's been a good thing that we've invested in ethanol. But, and this is that I think you're bringing up, we have to acknowledge that corn-based ethanol is not the most efficient way to create alternative fuels. It's not the most efficient way, at least so far, given current technology. The Brazilians are doing a great job producing ethanol, but they're using sugarcane. And it is much more efficient. Now, even there are problems because sugarcane is clearing a lot of Amazon forests, and that is not good because that means that with fewer trees, we're not taking as much carbon out of the atmosphere. So all these things are imperfect. And as you mentioned, food prices are now going up. I'll be honest with you, the biggest reason food prices are going up actually has, ironically, to do with rising oil prices and fuel for farmers. It has less to do with ethanol, but it is true that you're seeing more crops being grown for biofuels. That means that less less corn, for example, is going into feed, and that's making food and milk and eggs more expensive and so forth. Now, what do? Here's what I would like to do. I want to continue our ethanol program, but I want to shift it to what's called cellulosic ethanol. And this is ethanol made out of prairie grass or animal manure. It's ethanol made out of materials that aren't being used and don't require the same intensive fertilizers and irrigation and so forth. And that's the direction that our technology has to move in. And this is why my program for global warming involves setting up a cap on the emission of greenhouse gases. That just basically means you say to power plants and industries, you've got to stop sending up so much carbon into the atmosphere. You can figure out how to do it. We charge polluters for the pollution they send up. That will generate billions of dollars that we'll put into an Apollo project, a Manhattan project for clean energy. And we will take that energy and we will invest it in not just biofuels and biodiesel, but also invest it in helping to create cars that use fossil fuel. There's no reason why we shouldn't be developing plug-in hybrids and maybe electric cars, hydro cars, you name it. We are going to have to replace at some point the internal combustion engine. It's served us very well for a long time. Now's the time for us to come up with a better technology. But that requires investment in research and development. That requires investment in research and development. In the meantime, the most important thing we can do on the transportation side is actually to increase fuel efficiency standards on cars. If we, even with existing technology, we could go up to 40 miles per gallon, we would save the equivalent of all the oil we import from the Persian Gulf. All of it. Now think about that. Think about what that would do, not just for our environment, but also for our economy and for our national security. Every time we go to the gas pump, we're making Russia, Iran, Venezuela, countries that are hostile to us, we're making them richer. Because that money is going right into their pockets along with ExxonMobil. Even if we're not buying oil directly from them because we're driving up oil demand. So it actually makes us weaker in terms of our strategic position in the world. That's why this is so important, and we can do it, but as I said, we've got to have a president who actually is committed to it and is going to tell the American people what we need to do. When I announced that I wanted to raise fuel efficiency standards, I didn't do it in front of some environmental group. I went to Detroit. I went to the automakers who have opposed it, and I said, you've got to change your ways. You shouldn't just let the Japanese make all these fuel-efficient cars. We can make them right here in America. We've got the technology. We've got great workers. Let's start making them here. And then them over there. Instead of making them over there. All right, man right here. Everybody's pointing at him. This puts a lot of pressure on you. Here you go. You got a microphone right behind you.
I'm Stephen Baker. I attend Erskine Elementary School in Anderson, Indiana. And I was wondering, since kids can't vote, what can we do to have a say in what happens in the White House?
That's a great idea. Steve, how old are you?
10.
How old are you?
10.
You're 10 years old? Okay. You seem like a really smart guy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a daughter. She's a good-looking kid. She doesn't really like boys yet, but we'll see what your resume looks like when you're 18, 20. I'm teasing you, Steve. It's a great question. Look, it's true that you can't vote. But that doesn't mean that you can't help. First of all, young people can start learning about the world. We were just talking about the environment and global example. And you can ask your teachers and your parents, what is global warming? Why is the planet getting hotter? What can we do to stop it? And they might end up giving you some good advice.